Happy Friday, everybody. Good morning. My name is MiAhTheKing, and when life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. Welcome to This Week on Game of the Week. We are taking a look at another super old game of nostalgia that came out frickin' forever ago that a lot of people probably don't even know about. I'm super excited about this one, too. It's Robin Hood, The Legend of Sherwood Forest. Oh yeah, now this game is epic and legendary, if you don't know. Developed by Spellbound and published by Microids, this game is even older than Fable. This game came out all the way back in 2002. So, yeah, it's gonna look super old and play a bit wonky, and I apologize if my recording is a little bit off, because no matter how much I fiddled with it, I couldn't get it to look right, so I hope it's good enough. But man, the gameplay here is 10 out of 10, so let's ignore the rest of that. People just don't make games like this anymore, which is a damn shame. We need more games with the level of depth and intricate mechanics as this game. Don't worry though, I'm going to go into great detail about all that this game has to offer, so sit back and get ready for your mind to be blown for another Game of the Week. Man, this would be a great part for me to just put in like some epic music and a cool opening animation or something. Yeah, I don't have anything like that. Okay, one quick thing before I go into detail about the awesomeness that is this game. It's kind of tricky to play. Since it did come out over 2 decades ago, modern PCs and programs don't really work to play this game. But there are a few patches online that you can download to play the game safely, but if you don't want to risk a random download from a third party, I highly encourage you to go to GOG and purchase the game from there. Also, another thing to keep in mind, in some circumstances there can be a lag or a lack of recognizing your input. So play it on the default settings the game gives you when you first install it and log in. In my experience, it was like playing the game when it first released. Perfect. It's selling for $8 on GOG, and if you download it through them, then you'll have no problem playing it, as they are much better at adjusting games to modern day PCs than Steam. That's for sure. Hell, this game came out on Steam like, I don't know, what was it, 4 years ago, and they still haven't fixed it yet? Because Steam is lazy as hell. And just in case GOG Galaxy says the installation failed, it didn't really. I have a fix for that too. After it said it failed the installation, go into My PC, then go into Programs x86, then into the GOG Galaxy folder, then the Games folder, then go into Robin Hood folder. Then double-click on the game file with the application type. It should be the first icon that looks like the game's cover screen. That'll open up the game for you and play it perfectly. Alright, now that was important. I had to say that because otherwise you will not be able to play the game. So that was important, and now that all that important stuff is out of the way and you know how to do it, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this game. So, what to say about Robin Hood, The Legend of Sherwood Forest? Well, first off, that name is a bit too long to keep saying in the video, so I'm just going to say the Robin Hood game. So, this game at first comes at you like a typical isometric RPG, like Pillars of Eternity or Pathfinder or Baldur's Gate. But it goes far beyond those games by not completely converting to the isometric RPG lifestyle. Now, in a lot of games, this can be considered dangerous and awful, except when it's done right. And boy oh boy does this game do it right. So it originally plays like that. You can have up to 5 characters, which is already not a typical thing of isometric RPGs, which is fine because 5 is hard enough to manage on its own, since in this isometric RPG, there's no pausing. It's all real time. Also, there's no inventory. I mean, there kind of is. Unique items that are restricted per type of unit you are controlling. And no leveling up either. Again, I mean, kinda. Like, they do have a melee skill level that goes up to 5, and a range skill level that goes up to 5. So, I mean, it's not technically an isometric RPG, but it really does look like one. But it doesn't even remotely play like one. Confused yet? Me too! So let's just dive deeper so I can unconfuse you. So let's start with the story. It's classic Robin Hood. The king is missing, so Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham begin their reign of terror. Robin Hood returns from war and sets out to stop them by gathering his band of merry men and stealing from the rich to give to the poor. So the game is interesting, but there's also so much to talk about that I don't know where to start. The graphics are okay, and I guess that's where we'll start, but you know, this game is over 2 decades old, but still, they aren't that bad, surprisingly. There's still a lot of attention to detail here. There's still a lot of good color contrast here. It's not perfect, you can clearly tell it's an old game, but it doesn't look that bad for a game that's 20 years old. So, you control Robin, right? And the main factor of this game is basically trying to be almost pacifist level while you're sneaking around. The main focus of the game is basically sneaking. It's isometric sneaking. You have several types of characters who can tie up unconscious enemies, who can knock out enemies to make them unconscious, who can trap enemies in nets, characters who can carry the tied up enemies and hide them inside buildings or behind large rocks, Characters who can throw beehives, coin pouches, or rotten apples, all to encourage the random guards to fight each other, or just be distracted enough so you and your merry men can sneak past. In fact, there's even a statistic for how many people for whose lives you've spared while you're carrying on throughout the game. Man, I am so sorry. Let me try that again. There is a statistic that basically gives you a percentage of how many lives you're sparing as you play the game. Super sorry about that. Because, think about it. These soldiers are innocent. They're just serving their country, which Robin happens to be a part of. They are being led by corrupt leaders, but they're just normal, regular people. Robin wants to save them just as much as he wants to save the civilians. So the game gives you plenty of opportunities, strategies, and pathways to get through the game with as little death as possible to spare those innocent guards. As you can see from the gameplay, you move about these highly diverse, immensely detailed levels in as sneaky a way as possible while trying to accomplish whatever objective is set for that level or map. The guards can fall asleep. When they discover you or a dead body, they'll investigate or rush off to report to an officer or some other kind of leader, which will raise the alarm and have more soldiers patrolling and searching around. You can jump from rooftop to rooftop, you can hide in buildings, and some more cool sneaky stuff that I'm not going to mention here, you're just going to have to find out yourself. Every unit type you control is basically the same, with a few separate unique characters like Little John, Friar Tuck, Maid Marian, and so on. But even they are just upgraded version of the basic types of units that you can control throughout the game. Each unit has a specific function, which makes them required for strategy. Archers for long-range assassination shots or for tying up your enemies. Big dumb brutes for carrying the enemies to hideaways or holding the line when you get into a fight you can't escape. Little guys who heal your team, and they can throw rotten apples to distract the guards. And each hero unit has some unique function to really make everything diverse and to make those hero units unique. But that's not all. As the men of Sherwood Forest, it only makes sense that you live in Sherwood Forest, your base of operations. But unlike in a lot of games, it's more than a place for cutscenes or just as a placeholder. You come here after every mission, and as you get more famous, you have more merry men join you. But you can only take up to 4 with you since Robin is required on almost every mission, which leaves the rest behind. So what do you do with them? Well, who knows? Want them to make more arrows to take with you on a mission? Or to harvest rotten apples? Or to make leather pouches for coin pouch distractions? Want them to harvest more herbs for healing? What about training their physical fighting skills or their ranged skills? You can have your units doing this in camp while the rest of your troop are out accomplishing noble missions across the kingdom, which you'll want to upgrade their fighting and archery skills because otherwise they kind of suck. In between the big story missions, in each large city or castle, you'll have forest missions. Missions where a caravan holding all the ill-gotten goods that Prince John or the sheriff have wrongfully taken from the common man. And your merry men will ambush it in a really cool, well-set-up ambush with animations and key points and even more strategy to be applied here. Then you get to take the gold and use it for whatever you need. What is the purpose of gold? Well, later on you can spend it to help the war effort. I'm not going to spoil anything, so that's all you get about that. But you can also eventually use it to free the king, I think. I mean, it has been over 15 years since I last played it, and even playing it recently, I haven't beaten it yet, so it's still a bit hazy. And just like Fable, this game has a lot of replayability to it. While the length might be rather short, maybe 5 to 10 hours if you're really stretching it, depending on how you play, the replayability is incredibly fun. Can you make story-based, dialogue-changing choices? No. But it's the wanting to do better, gather more, do it faster, play it on a harder difficulty, or the gameplay itself that just makes the replayability something really interesting. And considering the game would only cost you $8, and then you could get at least 5 hours of gameplay, I mean, that alone makes the game worth it, plus everything else you're getting in this great game. That $8 price tag is just too darn cheap to be ignored for everything offered here. There's great voice acting, amazing music, great length, fun and engaging gameplay, and also innovative gameplay. I mean, I haven't seen a game designed like this with so much detail and so much going on for it in a really long time. It's truly something unique. It even has some cool moments where some of the other lords recognize what Prince John is doing, and they choose to stand up to him. So you'll have cities or castles fighting with 2 different factions, one of them on your side, and you can join with them or not, and if you join with them, you can help them to secure the castle or that town for the good guys. Honestly, everybody, this is a great game. If you haven't played this before, then I would highly, highly, highly recommend buying this from GOG and playing it immediately. It's totally worth your time, a game of legend, and one that definitely deserves a revamp. I mean, please, this game needs to be improved and re-released immediately. Please, with minimal changes, just please somebody give me this game back, but for modern day stuff. I mean, the amount of things you can do in this game is incredible, guys. It is ridiculous, and it deserves to be seen and played by more people. So, that's all the time I got for this video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a bunch for stopping by and watching. If you like the idea of my Game of the Week segment, then please share the video, like, and maybe recommend another older legendary game you'd like me to look at next week, alright? Well, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments down below. I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure, so until then, I bid you all farewell.